Vanakkam, Namaste, and blessings to everyone. This is Dr. Bhairavi Balasubramanian, PhD, the Sky Priestess. So today's video is less about specific astrological alignments, and it's more about key lessons that I've been called to look at in myself and in my clients these past few days. I can tell you that the 15-minute sessions tend to run over time just because the messages have been deep and rich and real. Now, what has been coming up for me, and certainly for all of us in different ways, is the importance of releasing past narratives, getting out of our own way so that we can actually reattune ourselves to spirit once more. And whilst it is important to acknowledge what each of us have gone through, have been through, have survived, especially in a planetary climate that seems to be more and more and more about just surviving each day, whilst each of us have our own narratives, at this time we are actually being asked to let go of those narratives. They may have served us at different points in our lives, at different times as we needed to get out of tough situations or to just try and understand what the heck we're doing here in the first place. But at this time, with this astrology, what's actually being asked of us is the willingness to let go of those crutches and to take that big, deep plunge into spirit. Because spirit does not work through narrative. Spirit does not work through constructs. Spirit may be channeled through modalities, but it is bigger than any modality, than any person. A person's soul, an individual soul, is so much larger and richer and multifaceted than anything that happens to them in this particular lifetime or incarnation. And we are all, in our own ways, being asked to remember that, including myself. You know, if I'm not practicing it on myself in some way or have not done so at some time, I'm certainly not sharing that information. Everything I share with you comes from experience. But what I've seen is that, for me at the very least, there has just been this general process of dissolution. People often tell me they find me very clear and calm and confident and whatever, which I appreciate, but I can tell you at the start of the journey, it was nothing like that. Everything felt like an absolute struggle, not to say that there isn't a struggle, but everything felt like, I had to push, I had to try, I had to be, I had to prove. Because, heck, I'm a brown woman doing a very, very unusual thing in the world, and I always have been. But at some point in my own journey, I kind of figured out, or circumstances allowed me to see, both I would say, that just being was enough. Just allowing myself to get out of the way and just be was more than enough. And the answers always came. Like, I can intellectualize with the best of them, but I've never ever found that a useful tool on my spiritual journey, my true spiritual journey. It's always been a deconstruction and a dissolution of whatever I thought I knew, so I could align with something deeper and purer that transcended my own mind. And that's how I've always walked on my journey with spirit. And I suspect that's how I'm going to be walking on my journey for a long time to come. And what I see now is that this inner knowing that we are enough, that whatever we need to be will emerge of its own accord, that we don't need to push, we don't need to strive, we don't need to prove, we don't need to grasp for a greater definition of self, because we are exactly what we need to be, each and every single one of us at this moment. If we are able to sit with ourselves, no matter in what circumstance we may be, we actually open ourselves to receive guidance. Guidance doesn't always mean, a specific set of directions. Sometimes your own ego can do the voiceover for that. But guidance can simply mean sitting in a sphere where more possibilities are made manifest and you have an inkling of which direction to go to. You can think of it as creating a sphere of grace. Not by knowing things, not by claiming narratives, not by trying to put yourself and your experience into a box and to put a trajectory or a teleological narrative to that box. It is just about being and allowing yourself, your personal energetic field, to align with the larger energetic field of spirit. And as you do so, you create the situation of grace. And really, that is what each and every one of us can do, not only for ourselves but for those in our environment, to model that ability to hold space and hold grace within and without. And that can be absolutely challenging. By no means do I lead an easy life. My friends know this. And so practicing this every day has been paramount for me in overcoming circumstances and situations which I would have thought impossible to do. And I see others who do the same work in the same way. It is simply about getting out of our own way. And this seems to be a very, very important message right now. It's interesting because it comes up in the build-up to the Taurus new moon. And of course, Taurus is all about our embodied presence and the way our bodies interact with the world. And they are our sacred tools. They are our sacred vessels. They also carry a lot of our memories and our traumas and our joys and our imprinting through cellular memory. And that's a different discussion in and of itself. But it just feels like we, starting from the depths of our being, we're just being asked to dissolve and allow and align. From inside, from deep, 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 deep in the core of you and emanating to every part of you, just give yourself permission to dissolve and align. Get out of your own way. Allow yourself to align with that higher principle of divine grace. Allow your body to also release whatever programs, whatever imprints, whatever overlays, whatever memories of trauma that it carries, that gets triggered by experiences of trauma or similarly traumatic events. Whatever it is, just allow for this dissolution to happen. And the strange thing is, and maybe it's not that strange when you think about it, the more you actually dissolve these constructs, the clearer you get, the truer you get, the more authentic you get. And this is not new teachings. This is what people have talked about as ego dissolution from long, long, long ago. You know, humanity is just at a more collective level really beginning to look at it and go, oh yeah, okay, that'll work. So the more you dissolve what you think reality is, what you think yourself or your being is, the more you actually open up to that higher principle of grace and source and spirit, the more you actually find your clarity and find your truth. Just remember, it's not just about your mind, it's also about your body. It's about your emotional body, it's about your trauma body, it's about your etheric being, it's about your astral being, it's about all versions and levels of you. It is just about you aligning and allowing yourself to get out of your way and to come back into that flow of grace. But yeah, that's the message I wanted to share today. That's what feels aligned, and keep at it. Find what moves you, find what brings you into that space of grace and clarity and truth. And truthfully, that's the most important spiritual teaching I can think of sharing at this time. So take care, many blessings, lots of love. Ciao, ciao for now.